feller told me one time they got a weed down here and they call it a loco weed. When the horses and cows eat it, they get wilder and all get out.
For decades, Dirk Blocker kept quiet, living in the long shadow of his legendary father, Dan Blocker, beloved star of Bonanza. But now, at 67, he's finally opening up. And what he's revealing has left fans stunned. From painful childhood memories to hidden truths about Dan Blocker's private life, Dirk shares a side of his father the world never saw. It's raw, emotional, and deeply human. This is more than a Hollywood story. It's a legacy revealed. Are you ready to hear what he's been holding back? Before the world knew him as Hoss Cartwright, Dan Blocker was Bobby Dan Davis Blocker, a 14-pound baby born in small-town Texas, destined to become one of TV's most beloved figures. But behind the fame was a man with a secret journey, and behind that man was a son carrying the weight of his legacy. This is the untold story that will change everything you thought you knew. His early life was shaped by hardship and resilience. After losing his older sister to pneumonia at age 5, Dan's family relocated to the small town of O'Donnell, Texas. His father opened a grocery store, and Dan quickly became known around town, helping out with everything from bagging groceries to lifting 40-pound cattle feed sacks. His size was impossible to ignore, but his character earned him respect. By the age of 12, he was already 6 feet tall and weighed 200 pounds. He didn't just tower over other kids, he was stronger than most grown men. On weekends, the town would rope off Main Street so young Dan could box with much older opponents. Stories even circulated that he once lifted a car off a man after it slipped off a jack. Whether or not that story is true, nobody who knew him doubted his strength. At the age of 12, Dan enrolled at Texas Military Institute in San Antonio, where he began to learn the discipline and structure that would shape his future. After graduation, he attended Hardin-Simmons University, where he played football, but later transferred to Sul-Ross State University. It was there that his life changed. While helping backstage in a school play, something clicked. He switched his major to drama and never looked back. Dan continued to play football and took on odd jobs to pay for school, including performing in rodeos and working as a bouncer. Despite his imposing size, he displayed a surprising gentleness and emotional depth on stage that caught the attention of his teachers. In 1950, he graduated with a degree in speech and drama, but just as his acting journey began, the Korean War interrupted his plans. He was drafted into the army and soon found himself on the front lines in Korea. The military struggled to find boots to fit his massive feet, and he was quickly nicknamed the Big Un by his fellow soldiers. Dan served with distinction, rising to the rank of Master Sergeant and participating in more than 200 days of active combat. He earned several medals, including the Purple Heart, after being wounded while rescuing fellow soldiers. His wartime experiences changed him. Dan returned to the U.S., a decorated hero, but also a man deeply affected by what he had seen. He became outspoken against war, particularly the Vietnam conflict, using his voice to advocate for peace. After the war, he returned to his studies and completed a master's degree in drama. He married his college sweetheart, Dolphia Lee Parker, and began teaching English and drama in Texas and New Mexico. Dan Blocker never let go of his dream to act, even while balancing a full life as a teacher, father, and war veteran. But fate has a way of showing up when you least expect it. During a casual family trip to Los Angeles, a single moment changed everything. Dressed in full cowboy gear, Dan was making a phone call when a talent agent spotted him. Towering at 6 feet 4 inches with a rugged presence that couldn't be ignored, Dan looked like he had stepped straight out of the Wild West. And Hollywood took notice. That moment launched his acting career. He quickly started landing small roles in popular Western shows like Gunsmoke, The Rifleman, Have Gun, Will Travel, and Colt .45. Though the parts were minor, they showcased his undeniable screen presence. His combination of physical power and quiet charisma made him stand out in every scene. Then, in 1959, came the opportunity of a lifetime. Dan was cast as Eric Hoss Cartwright in the new series Bonanza. The role was written with him in mind, originally meant to be a simple comic relief character. Big, lovable, but not too bright. But Dan defied expectations. He brought nuance, intelligence, and heartfelt emotion to Hoss, transforming the character into the soul of the show. As Bonanza soared to become the #1 show on television from 1964 to 1967, Dan Blocker became a beloved icon. But success wasn't easy. Filming over 30 episodes a year meant long, exhausting days. Dan often worked from sunrise until well after dark, sacrificing personal time for the role that made him a legend. Despite the workload, he remained devoted to his family. He and Dolphia raised 4 children, twin daughters Dana and Deborah, and sons David and Dirk. When he wasn't acting, Dan was a hands-on father, sharing quiet moments at home and always remaining grounded. He also pursued business ventures, including launching the Bonanza Sirloin Pit restaurant chain. His TV fame helped launch it into success, and at its peak, there were hundreds of locations across the United States. Dan had turned his Hollywood success into a tangible legacy. Behind the scenes, Dan continued to dream of expanding his range as an actor. He appeared in films like Come Blow Your Horn with Frank Sinatra and Lady in Cement, playing complex roles that showcased his versatility beyond the gentle cowboy. Just before his death, he had been cast in Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye, a serious, dramatic role that could have redefined his career. Sadly, he never got the chance to take it on. On May 13, 1972, Dan Blocker passed away unexpectedly after complications from gallbladder surgery. He was only 43 years old. The medical technology of the time couldn't keep up with the complications, and a pulmonary embolism took his life in the early hours of the morning. His death shocked the nation. Bonanza was never the same. Viewership plummeted, and the show was canceled shortly after his passing. The cast and fans alike felt the loss deeply. Michael Landon once said, "He made us laugh. He made us better." Dan's absence left a hole in the heart of the series that no one could fill. But his story didn't end there. Today, in O'Donnell, Texas, a bronze statue stands in his honor. The memorial captures the man as he was, strong, kind, and unforgettable. A mural painted across a barn greets visitors as they drive into town, a proud tribute to the gentle giant they raised. His sons, David and Dirk, have carried on his legacy in their own unique ways. David became an Emmy-winning producer, creating films and television shows that earned both critical and audience acclaim. Dirk followed in his father's footsteps as an actor. While he enjoyed moderate success early on, his role as Detective Hitchcock on Brooklyn Nine-Nine introduced him to a new generation of fans. Dirk often speaks about the duality of growing up as Dan Blocker's son: the pride, the pressure, the lasting impact. He recalls how his father's fame brought both joy and hardship, and how it shaped his decision to stay out of the spotlight as much as possible. Both sons remember Dan not just as a celebrity, but as a loving, humble man who valued kindness above all else. Though it's been over half a century since Dan Blocker left us, his spirit lives on. Not just through reruns of Bonanza, but in the values he lived by. He wasn't just a television star. He was a teacher, a soldier, a father, and a man who stood for decency in every part of his life. Dan Blocker showed the world that strength doesn't just come from size, it comes from heart. And in a world that sometimes forgets its heroes, we remember the gentle giant who made us laugh, who made us think, and who reminded us what truly matters. If you enjoyed this story about the incredible life and legacy of Dan Blocker, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment sharing your favorite memory of Hoss Cartwright, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories from Hollywood's golden age. Thanks for watching.